Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Alexis Johnson, and I am with Arkansas Tech University, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit of my work that I've been doing throughout the year on motherless motherhood and my journey with that. So, getting right into it, I am going to start by sharing a little bit of this idea of a timeline of loss, where we feel like there is this sort of societal construct of time that certain events or certain things should happen at certain stages of our lives. And so we live under these understandings or these conceptualizations, and we don't take into account that most of what happens in life is completely unpredictable. We can't account for, we can't hope that this timeline is going to be exactly how our lives are going to play out, right, in a realistic world. Losing a parent, statistically speaking, according to the US Census Bureau, actually does happen typically in middle to later adulthood. At 49, about 44% of people have lost at least one parent. And at 59, that number increases to 76%. But that doesn't mean that people don't experience a loss of a parent or even both parents younger than that age range. And so while statistically we see a sort of pattern or a trend, we do know that young adults face loss, and we do know that children face loss as well. I myself lost my mother when I was only 22 years old, and if you know anything about neurology and things like that, your brain really isn't fully developed. There's a lot of transitions and big life events that are still something that young adults go through, and without a parent, that can be particularly challenging. So there's some research that I want to sort of highlight. There's a ton of research on this subject, and there's a lot of research on loss in general, right? Loss of a parent in general. However, what makes my experience unique is that one, I am sharing my own lived experiences as someone from the young adulthood lens who has sort of lived with this over the years. And two, I think that the more we share our narratives, the more we tell our stories, the more we can learn about these phenomenon. So I think that my story still adds to the conversation of research. A study in 2007 by Marks essentially found that psychological wellness decreases for both sons and daughters who have lost a mother. And we do see that women tend to have a stronger decrease in self esteem issues, particularly when they lose a mother. There's a great book also by Kenneth Doka that talks about grief and basically talking about how you get a developmental push. So a lot of people experience a developmental push where they are forced to sort of figure things out that their parent may have helped them with prior to losing them. And one of my favorite studies that particularly focuses on raising children shows that a lot of women experience grief and identity issues because they have a lack of support when they are trying to raise children and a lack of information. And so they feel that after the loss of their mother, they have trouble and they struggle to be mothers themselves. I do want to share a bit of my own personal narrative that is a part of this bigger project so that you can get a sense of the stories and the types of narratives that I'm sharing. I look in the mirror and I see her staring back at me. I share my mother's physical features, her hopes for her children, and empathy for others. A tear rolls down my face as reality hits. My mother isn't here, and my reflection is a reminder that a piece of my soul died when she passed away. I am left to navigate motherhood without her presence, living under the myth that I will never be a good mother without her guidance. That when my child is sick and I'm concerned, I'm not able to pick up the phone and call her for advice. I grieve not only her absence in my life, but the absence of all that she is missing. Each new happy moment is a reminder of another piece of life that she will never experience with me. Who I am, who I will be, has shifted exponentially since my mother left this earth. I often try to picture what motherhood would look like with her there. How would it be different? How would it be the same? How much would I take for granted the experiences I would have had that I long for each and every day? Being motherless while mothering feels like being pulled to the bottom of a deep, dark underground cave that has just a small enough gap to get some air before being dragged down again. It is a place that is cold, uninhabitable, and lonely. It's a place I hope few have ever had to encounter in their lifetimes. So something that I talk about with my own lived experiences too is sort of these emotions that I have to toy with, some of the anger, some of the grief, some of the jealousy. My mother's mom passed away when I was 7, so she didn't live that long and she didn't have an opportunity to really get to know me as long as my mom would have liked. However, I still got to meet her. My mom never got to meet my children, never got to meet my husband, and so she missed out on a lot of these big pivotal relationships to me as an adult. And one of the things that I find myself doing is trying to sort of create these moments where she's somehow physically present. So my husband got me a Photoshop gift of my mom and our daughters so that I could feel connected to her. Another thing that I've done is I had a rose at my wedding so that she had some sort of physical presence with a picture of her. The other thing that I notice that I do in order to keep my mom's narrative and memory alive is I tell stories about her. So that's one way that I keep connected. And you'll kind of see that in the next slide where I talk about the importance of continuing those stories and those narratives. But a really cool, fun fact is that my oldest daughter was born on July 28th, which was my mom's birthday. And my youngest daughter was born April 28th, which was my maternal grandmother's birthday. So I tell both of my girls that was a way that Grandma Pam was showing herself or demonstrating that she was connected to them still. And a lot of my piece actually focuses on some of that being alone, trying to find ways to connect with her while I was dealing with hormonal changes and being a new mom, and also just like dealing with all that during a pandemic. We also try to find ways to incorporate my mom, whether that's lighting a candle or something during the holidays. So the final thing I really want to talk about and emphasize is that the way that we can heal and why our narratives and autoethnography is so important is one, it allows us to maintain connections between people that maybe we have lost in our lives that are important. And I think that that is a really important aspect of healing and health and death and loss and all those things and social support. Number two is it gives an opportunity for others to get a glimpse into someone else's lived experiences and hopefully find comfort and hope and learn and grow from someone else's experiences so that they can share their own narrative so that we can get more voices in the conversation related to especially young adulthood and losing a parent. And I would love to have conversations with people who have dealt with being mothers while motherless. I'll leave you with a quote to end. I know I'm a little over time, but grief and love are conjoined. You don't get one without the other. All I can do is love her and love the world, emulate her by living with daring and spirit and joy. And this is my contact information in case you would like to contact me or get in touch with me or maybe even collaborate on research in the future. I would really love that opportunity. I also have my work cited on the next page, so in case you really liked any of those research papers that I cited. Thank you, everyone.